Angry Guy here, and today we're discussing why gyms are going bankrupt as 60% of men are boycotting gyms. And I'm with my co host, MK Fitness.
What's up, guys? MK Fitness in the Philippines, coming at you live from the Philippines, Angeles City, Clark City, Balibago, Pampanga, and all the surrounding area. I'm repping the whole neighborhood. What's going on?
Guys, help me get to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't. Like the video and turn on notifications to never miss another video again. Now let's begin. So, gyms are going bankrupt as 60% of men are boycotting them. We're going to go ahead and check out the first video. This actually comes from the amazing Chow Time channel. And let's just watch a little bit of what he says here.
Come watch me train legs. It's my favourite day because it gives the perfect excuse to show off my chocolate starfish. I film myself stretching because it makes my fat ass look amazing, and then I film myself loading the weight on the bar and pause to look around to see if anyone is looking at me. After, I will place myself under the bar, continuing to poke my ass out to pretend I'm finding a comfortable
Oh my God, how many times have I seen that?
position. I'll then film a couple of reps with bad form and then rest against the bar, poking my ass out, pretending the camera isn't on. Next, I'll film some jump squats for you to see how much my ass jiggles, and then we come to the end of the video where I'll have the camera on my ass to show off the pump. I'll then do a peace sign and walk off. See you next time.
Welcome back to Chat Time Pod. It's your host, Red. Got a video today from Tiki Taki. Gyms. Closing down, but women know exactly what they're doing. There's even women that post TikToks of exposing other women. So please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get to that chow. It's chow time.
You can't see through the windows. It is open 24/7 to women only.
Open 24/7. You can't see through the windows. Sounds good for you ladies so far.
The front door is locked so only members and women can get in. They let
Looks pretty damn empty to me.
you know when man will be in the building and even have free feminine products.
You know this shit's going bankrupt when you see literally nobody there. And them giving away free feminine products. Really? It looks nice, but it looks damn empty. And it's just funny to me that they make it so that it's literally a gym made to avoid predators, because the way they set up the gym, the way they set it up, how you have to scan your key card to get into the building, and when a man comes in, it warns all the women. Really? All you need is one bad actor man to go in there and he will destroy all of you women, especially if he's a guy that works out. But you think other men can't actually come and help you now because everything is locked. You can't get in unless you have that key card. So if a man's in there, you're in there by himself. You're in there with him. That's the part I don't think women think about. But I digress. And this is the sad part, right? This is just a young man trying to get in shape. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just doing some works that he's seen people do. He doesn't know the form. But yet, you're going to film him and make fun of him and post this.
So, I mean, right now, what we're seeing here is extremely predatory behavior from these women in these gyms. They're doing horrible things to these men. These men are literally just trying to do better for themselves. They've made the lives of men absolutely miserable. And this is why so many men are actually walking away from the gym, choosing not to go to the gyms. Instead, they're staying home, they're working out, they're building their own home gyms, are avoiding, any attention from these women entirely, because they know what the consequences are. Modern day women absolutely resent men in general, but then at the same time, they need men. And, as you guys can see here, this is from 85. Men are boycotting gyms, a major cause of gym bankruptcies. 60% of men are boycotting gyms due to various reasons, such as a financial pressure, accusations of being creepy, fear of false accusations, and the rise of MGTOW, leading to gym closures and the rise of home gyms. And I believe it was the CEO of Planet Fitness who was literally ousted quite recently because, and it was shocking during their restructure. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that there are significantly declining rates of men attending these gyms. What do you think regarding all of this, MK?
Obviously, that first video he showed is it's actually satire. I saw that woman's video. She actually made that on purpose as a joke. Like, the problem has become so bad in gyms that woman actually made a that video as a joke to show just how easily these women are basically trying to trap these men into peeping at them like I have eyeballs. Obviously, I have to look where I'm walking, and so it's funny that it's gotten so bad that other women are actually making fun of the fact that women are doing this in the gyms. And I mean, it's sad. I'm looking at the amount. So I'm looking at some statistics right now. It's saying the U.S. fitness industry is worth $33.25 billion. And if 60% of men leaving the gyms, we can cut that more than in half. So just the financial issues that women are creating for the economy, because these gyms are in local neighborhoods, they're creating jobs, they're creating money. Once again, like we talked about last time in the last live stream, where everything these women doing is not just affecting the women, it's affecting the entire community around them, because these gyms shut down, and these gyms are usually in areas, they're like in these little marketplaces, right? So there's like a gym, there's like a store, there might be a liquor store, there's multiple stores around. These gyms are attracting people to that area, right? So you get out of the gym, what are you going to do? You're going to go to the grocery store, you're going to get some protein, you're going to go to the supplement shop, you're going to get, whatever supplements you need, your vitamin shop. There's usually like a GNC somewhere next door, like a vitamin store. Once that gym shuts down, what happens? Everything else around it starts to shut down because it's no longer necessary. That's how big the problem is. It's not just the gym shutting down. It's the people losing jobs. It's the other stores around there that this gym is attracting people to that are going to have to shut down, because once the gym's not there, I don't have to go to the vitamin shop anymore. I don't have to go to the grocery store that's right next to the gym that I would normally go to because I'm already there. So that grocery store is going to lose money. That's how big the problem is.
And it's crazy because you have these women that are literally going after even blind men. I have the video here, and we're gonna put it up. For a moment.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, that's hilarious.
All right, let me go ahead and put on the video, and then we'll talk more about it.
Mean to start a war between the sexes when I posted the original I got caught staring at a girl at the gym video in October of 2021.
I didn't come here to be stared at.
With well over 100 million views, everyone watched me try to explain the fact that I'm blind to the girl at the gym and the gym manager. I reach into my wallet and pull out an ID card from the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. But now we've got women setting guys up for this situation. Non-blind guys, by the way.
Most of these women want to be victims. They want that victim clout.
And we've got guys, non-blind guys, fighting back.
If you try to put us on blast, we're just gonna fight the fire with the fire.
The funny thing is, I wasn't even mad about this whole situation. I'm laughing throughout the entire video because this kind of thing happens to me all the time. I spent half a day filming with Casey Neistat, and at the end of the day, he tried to fist bump me.
Fist bump? Oh, you got out there for a while? Yeah, I forget.
So just to point out something about this guy, this is no ordinary blind man. This guy, he's known as the Blind Surfer. His real name is Pete Gustin, and he is a massive YouTuber with 2.2 million subscribers. And this is what happened to him. So just imagine if this is happening to him, and he has this massive platform, just imagine the average guy, and he's pointing that out. But these men are fighting back. And when someone like him, puts a video like this on the internet, on YouTube, it's going to reach a massive audience. And not only just a massive audience, it's going to reach other YouTubers like Casey Neistat. Casey Neistat, he's one of the biggest, absolute biggest YouTubers on the planet. I mean, it's hard to get much bigger than Casey Neistat. And now, how do you think guys like Casey Neistat are going to respond to things like this? Guys like Casey Neistat are actually investing in companies right now. One of my favorite companies is the Nothing Company. I love OnePlus devices. And the former CEO of OnePlus went off and started another company called Nothing, and they're making Nothing phones and other products. And Casey Neistat was one of the early investors in the company. He's one of the people who helped to produce the videos for the company, promotional videos. And I mean, women don't realize what they're shutting themselves out of. They don't realize how much they're hurting themselves. I'll let you get a word in here, MK.
Exactly. Just what I was talking about with every facet of life that their decisions affect. They don't realize that's hurting them. And what you're talking about, these big names, that's another thing that these women, the society and these women are not understanding. There was a time when, you could, the average NPC would watch a video and could just be like, okay, well, those guys are just weird. Those guys are just crazy, right? But not anymore, because now we're getting these big names, these famous guys, athletes, famous movie stars, actors, guys with charisma, the guys with the six figures, the guys with the six packs, the 6 feet tall, the guys that these women actually want are now the guys who are starting to look at these topics that we're talking about, and they can't ignore those guys. They can't write those guys off. You know what I mean? So, like you were saying earlier off the stream, it's growing. It's growing substantially.
It's so crazy because, these women after M2 Part 2 are, the second wave M2, because that's really what it is. These things come in waves. Feminism came in multiple waves, and M2 is coming in multiple waves. And after second wave M2, this thing is going to be massive. Like I said, they're going to go for everyone in Hollywood. Like, I guarantee you, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to get it this time. His day of reckoning is coming. They're coming for him. They're going to go after everyone. It is going to literally be like it's going to be literally be like something out of Oppenheimer when this thing is done. Part one, the first, wave one of M2, of the M2 movement is going to look like literally nothing compared to what these women are going to do, because there's going to be such a level of desperation among these women that it's either only fools or saying that some guy did something at some point so they can get their bag from either off him or off the companies that they work for or off another brand. I mean, it's going to be so terrible. And that's why I say that MWA is going to be the trend of the future, because men are tired of everything. Men are tired of everyone, everything. Men are tired of labels. And what do men do when they can't tolerate it anymore? They walk away. And that's why MWA beats everything else. It beats the Migglypuffs. It beats everything, because a lot of people don't, despite what people want to say, and Migglypuff, the Migglypuff movement, which was originally a philosophy, it woke a lot of men up. But there's so much negativity associated with that. And, even just the term red pill in general. So when it comes to what are men going to do, they're going to walk away. They're walking away from society, relationships, labels. They're walking away, and you cannot stop. And as a result, you can't stop MWA. You really can't stop it. The time has come. The idea has come, and it's just going to continue growing and advancing from there. So that's something that is really going to be pivotal. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this content, help me get to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. So there's some other crazy things now happening in the world around us that I want to jump into. One of the crazy things that we're actually seeing is within the Black community, as Black men are walking away from this community. Tyrone is furious that he's going to have to take accountability for the things he's done, as Black men are turning his back on him and the Black community. And I was talking with MK Fitness earlier about this, how this is going to create some serious disparities for Tyrone, because now the focus is on him. He's not going, black men are no longer going to play this whole step up dad thing. They're no longer going to be step up dads. They're no longer going to they're no longer going to clean up the mess of Tyrone, of Chad, of Ray Ray and Pookie, of Miguel, Enrique, and Little Pancho. And I bring up the Hispanic men because they need to, I love the Hispanic community. I lived in Mexico for years. I absolutely love Hispanic women, but we have to call out the toxic men that come out of these communities. Just like you have toxic men in the black community, the white community, you have toxic men in the Hispanic community as well. And we have to recognize that these men these men are just brothers from another mother. They have been tormenting and terrorizing the black community alongside Tyrone, Ray Ray, and Pookie for decades. They have been running wild. Let me tell y'all something. You would be shocked how many black people speak Spanish. I never knew this. I'm absolutely shocked seeing all these like more and more black people speaking Spanish, and you're like, oh, Rosetta Stone. It's not Rosetta Stone. They grew up around Hispanic people. They have Hispanic relatives. Okay, listen to me. You guys do not seem to realize how many children these Hispanic men, how many Hispanic children, Miguel, Enrique, Pancho, have fathered in the African American community, and the problems is created there. So they need to be called out, and it needs to be acknowledged. Now, I received a message. I received a message from someone who was absolutely furious about a video I posted where it was basically talking about making fun of how the black community is constantly raging at anyone who calls out the things happening in the community. And this related to MK Fitness a bit, because they were furious about a comment that MK Fitness even posted on the video. And he said, "How dare you? I've been noticing how disrespectful you have been getting lately. Really, bro? You are depicting black men and black people as a joke more and more. Now, keep in mind, more than half of my subscribers are black men. Now you have the audacity to allow the N-word in your videos." It was a video where from a guy, content creator named Trey Rags, that was making fun of the black people warring on the internet, and saying that you need to respect black women and blah blah blah. Anyway, that is extremely disrespectful, and it's taking away from men. Despite so-called black people using the word, you should show some respect to yourself and edit out or censor that word. The reason why this man is so furious and so scared is literally because it's shining a light upon these people, because he's one of them. He's 100% one of these people, and they're absolutely furious. They're absolutely furious that the line is now being shined upon them. The black guys are abandoning these terrible communities, walking away from these communities, saying that they're no longer going to take care of some other man's kid. They're no longer going to be the cleanup crew for these people. They're going to leave the fires burning, and the focus will now fall upon Tyrone and Ray Ray and Pookie and Miguel and Enrique and Little Pancho, because they need to pay their fair share. And if we look at the comment, this was the video that he was furious about, and the title, let me get these off the screen so you guys can see the whole thing, was "Thugs are furious that black men don't want black women." And he was so angry. He said, this is the screenshot he sent to me where he was raging. And it says, and of course MK Fitness said, "Who gonna pay child support and take care of my babies?" And he was so angry about that. He was furious about that because what's happening is that the cleanup crew is gone. The cleanup crew is walking away. And without these men there, the focus is entirely on these evil, horrible individuals that have done so much damage and created so much disparity in this community. And MK Fitness, we were talking before the stream started. You made some interesting points. You brought up you talked about how these men are going to be targeted by the government, and how the government is going to, for example, have access to their DNA. And I'll let you, because you were the one who said this, so I'll let you illustrate that better. But how the government is going to start tracing these men down to get that child support and hold them accountable. So I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah. First, let me just say, in regards to the black community, the educated black men are the passport kings. Educated black men they talk about their own communities. They make fun of their own communities. And I watch a lot of black channels, black YouTubers, black passport kings, and so I just want to iterate. There's a difference, right? Here in the Philippines, a lot of the men, the black passport kings here, are extremely educated. They do their research before they travel. They even learn the language. They're even starting businesses over here. So, in regards to that, there is a difference between the Pookie Ray Ray and the educated black man. All right, there is a huge difference, and the educated black community knows there's a difference. So, anyone who's saying, you're being disrespectful or we're being disrespectful, we're just observing reality, right? And we're just commenting on it, just like everyone else does in the world. Just like I always say, the Filipino women here, when they see the black women on TikTok making their crazy videos, they're laughing at them. All right, it's entertainment. So that was just my disclaimer I wanted to make, because I support all of my brothers, regardless of race. We're all in this battle together, and we need to be working together as we have been here on the internet in the manosphere. And the black community is a huge supporter of Passport Kings, the educated ones, and that's all I want to say about that. Anyways, back to the point, the question about the Pookie, the government coming after Pookie and Ray Ray. So what we have here is we already have a mass exodus of men leaving the country, leaving the West, right? So there's already a statistic that came out a few months ago that said about 900,000 passports have already been given out last year, and we can assume that was a few months ago. So probably about 1 million passports last year, for the whole year of 2023. So you got some donations. Did you want to read those comments?
Yeah. So thank you to Julius Carver for your $5 super. And then thank you to Calvin King for that $4.99. He says, I'm one of the subscribers to Angry Guy. Keep doing what you're doing. 100,000 and beyond, Mother Effa. Hashtag MWA. Thank you so much, brother, for the support. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. Please go right back to your point, MK.
All right. So we already have, like I said, they said 1 million. They said 900,000 passports were given out last year in the United States alone. That was a few months ago. So I'm just going to round that up to about 1 million passports for the entire year as we end up the year in the next couple of days. So 1 million passports have been given out. We can only assume, I'm making the assumption here. I'm going to acknowledge that I'm making an assumption and say that because of the rise of Passport Kings on YouTube and on the internet, that has encouraged a lot of men to go out and get their passports. So a lot of men are have already left the States, or they are planning to leave soon. So we already have that. So women no longer have access to those men's money. The government no longer has access to those men and their assets and their money. So where are they gonna? And then we know the men that are not leaving the States are not getting married. Like, no one's getting married anymore. That's why the new M2 Part 2 is the new wealth transfer, because they can't get money through divorce anymore because no one's marrying them. So, but the government still needs their money. And even though lots of channels have discussed it in the past, I think people still don't understand how child support really works. All right. So the government basically takes out a loan from the state government takes out a loan from the federal government for the entire amount of your child support throughout the 18 years that you're going to have to pay, right? So it could be, $500,000 in child support that you're going to have to pay. So the state government takes that out as a loan from the federal government, which is why you go to jail for not paying it, because the state has to pay back the federal government. So they take that money out as a loan, so they can do whatever they want to do with it. I don't know, fix the roads or embezzle it or whatever.
Wait, okay, dude, I'm confused because I did not know any of this. This is all news to me. Wait, so the state takes out a loan. You're gonna have to go back because most men don't know this. I didn't know this. The state
Yeah,
takes
that's
out a loan from the federal government.
exactly.
Why do they?
So
Why do they do this? Why are they taking out a loan in relation to child support?
this is it's just how they get money to do whatever they want to do for the city or for the state. So because they're going to get the money anyway. So instead of them waiting for you to pay your child support every month, what they do is they go to the federal government and they say, okay, we got this guy on child support. He's paying $1,000 a month, and so that's 12,000 a year, however much that comes out to 18 years. And they say, look, this guy's on the hook anyways, so just give us the entire sum for the 18 years, and we're going to pay it back. As the guy pays his child support back, then the state pays back the federal government for the loan. I don't know why they do it. I'm just saying this is how it works. A lot of people don't know.
Cow. I didn't. Wait a minute, dude. So that means that when the state is paying these women child support, the reality of it is that they've already taken out a loan for those funds they're essentially guaranteeing using the money that they'll be extracting from this man, which is the reason why they're going to go so hard and throw these men in jail, because they need to get that money.
Exactly. That is why you go to jail for not paying your child support, because the state is indebted to the federal government for the child support. So, and they've already spent it, by the way. As soon as they get it, they spend it on whatever. They probably embezzle most of it, but they spend it, or they raise their own salaries or whatever they want to do. The money's gone. It's basically another kind of like a Social Security scam. Like, the money is gone. It's spent, right? The only way it's getting paid back is if that guy has to pay it back, right? That's why you go to jail. It's the only debt in America that you go to jail for.
Dude, so this is news to me. I can't believe this is true, but it makes perfect sense. So this is another thing. For example, if a man finds out that the child wasn't his and he's been paying child support all of these years, he can't go back to the state and say, I want all of that money back. They argue that no, if they did that, then it would hurt the child, but that doesn't make any sense. That's between the state and that should be between the state and the woman. However, it doesn't work that way.
That's exactly why they don't want DNA tests, because they know that they cannot give you the money back because they already spent the money and they already owe the money to the federal government. The money's not there anymore. That's why they don't care about the DNA test. They don't care if the child's not yours, because they don't even have the money to give it back to you. And they don't want to, even if they don't want to give the money back to you, right? They're just getting free money from the government to raise their own salaries and do whatever they want with.
Now, let me ask you this. I wish we definitely need to get an attorney. Like, there's, Nate, there's a guy named Nate. Damn, so guys, we were actually discussing privately that I've been, I want to put together a series for you guys. It's something I'm working on privately. We would have a weekly show. It would be hopefully every Saturday. And we'd have a large panel of different people. Hopefully they would be consistently there most days, but sometimes they may not be there. But we would try to have, a regular group of people that would come in from the manosphere to discuss these topics. So there would be, some maybe one or two women there, like Soraya. MK Fitness is my co-host, so he would definitely be there. And then there would be, a series of other people, and maybe like Nate, the attorney, that could actually, talk about the legal aspects of certain things, because we would need people like that. And I don't know, I really don't know regarding this, but I'm curious, MK, what do you think regarding, like, is this actually constitutional to take that money from these men? And then
it's not. It's because family court has no jurisdiction. They can do whatever they want, and that's why it's not constitutional. And that's why it is theft. It is wealth transfer. It's outright theft. But they have no jurisdiction. They are not accountable to anybody. So that's why you don't have a trial by jury when you get divorced and things like that. It's not civil court. You are at the mercy of the court and the judge. They do whatever they want. And also,
go ahead.
I'm not 100% sure about this, so we do need to get a lawyer. But I have heard that the states do get even more free money from the government based on how much they can collect in child support. So they will And this is free money, by the way, because they basically go to the federal government and they say, hey, look, we have all these single mothers. So obviously uh, their programs that they have for single mothers are going to cost them more money. So based on how much money they collect from child support, they actually get even more free money from the government to take care of all the social programs that they have to have for all the single mothers.
My question regarding this, though, is because you said that it's not constitutional, but they're not held accountable. So, is this something that could go before the Supreme Court?
Well, no one's gonna take that. No one's gonna address it. Like it's just it would ruin your career. Like who's gonna do it?
Well, I mean, obviously, people can sue. For example, there are men who could sue over this, and they could sue they can file a lawsuit, and it would work its way up to the federal court or whatever different courts. But if it did, could this potentially go before the Supreme Court? And if it did, and if the Supreme Court did actually accept it, what would could this actually happen? And would it? What do you think would happen? I want your opinion on that, because I don't know. You sound like you know the legal system a bit better than I do when it comes to this. So,
well, I'm not going to say with recent events, with the Roe versus Wade being overthrown, with Tennessee requiring DNA tests, and with Florida getting rid of lifetime alimony. I'm not going to say it's impossible. They are making changes. The government is starting to slowly make changes because they want to kind of like make men feel like they can get married again, because the government knows, like they know men are not getting married anymore. They have people who are crunching the numbers and seeing how this is ultimately going to affect the society and the country and the economy long term as men don't get married and as men leave the country. So they are making some small changes that we've seen in the past year or the past couple of years. Those changes, however, are not big enough to really bring men back to the plantation. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that I don't believe that they're going to make a change that big, right? They're not going to make a change that big because there's too many people involved. The judges are involved, the state's involved, the lawyers are involved. There's too much money that these guys, everyone's benefiting from the child support system. The lawyers are, the judges are, the states are, the local government is benefiting. Everyone's making money off of this, right? So why they're not going to change that, right? They'll make some small changes here and there, but they're not really going to reform the whole system. That's just my opinion.
It would literally, if men could actually go back to the child support system and say that
let me just say one more thing. The reason, because this is a legitimate fact, the child support system makes more money than the entire NFL combined. That is why they go. You can Google this and look this up. You can fact check me if you want. I don't care. I know it's a fact. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. They're not gonna change it because they're making all that money. They're just not gonna do it. There's too much financial incentive for them to keep the system the way it is. The problem they have now is that people aren't getting married, so they can't implement the system on men anymore. That's the new problem they have.
So the system, there's a lot of men who have been taken to the cleaners for false paternity, with false paternity, and they've paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of their lives, in some cases millions of dollars. Like the average man has paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars in child support. And when you think about that, with so many of these men, there's actually speculation that half, or even something, maybe even more than half of all of many of these cases where these guys are paying child support, they're paying for children that are not even theirs. And if that's the case, all of these guys would go back to the courts and say that we want our money back because we paid for children that were not ours, and the state needs to reimburse us for all of that money that was lost. And that would translate to not even tens of billions of dollars, but potentially hundreds of billions of dollars. Like this could potentially bankrupt the states if they had to pay that money back. And in many cases, not only would they bankrupt the states, this is my speculation, but because they're taking out loans to do this, and they've guaranteed, the states would end up defaulting on all of those loans as well, right?
Exactly. Yes. So, in order to keep the system going, to go back to the original topic with the Tyrone, like I'm saying, all the men are leaving. The men that are still there are smart enough and wise enough to not get married. So the government cannot collect money, is not collecting as much money as they used to through through the family court system. The next thing, the only thing they have left to do is to go after Tyrone, because Tyrone doesn't have money to leave this. Tyrone doesn't even have a passport, by the way. Tyrone doesn't have the finances to leave the country. He doesn't have the know-how to leave the country. He probably doesn't even know how to use, buy a plane ticket. You know, he doesn't even know how to. He doesn't even know how to download Expedia and buy a plane ticket. Schedule a plane flight. So the states, that's all they're left with. All the states are left with now is, where are we going to get our money from? Where are we going to keep this cash cow flowing? And it's going to go after Tyrone. And like I was saying off stream, if Tyrone has been in the system already, if he's had some legal problems in the past, more than likely his DNA is already in the system. All they got to do is just run that computer, just like they do like with facial recognition or something like that. When they're trying to find a criminal, they're going to just run your DNA through the system. And whoever matches that baby, they're sending a letter to your house. You're going to be due in court on this day. And like I said, in family court, you're at the mercy, you have no rights. And they're just going to tell you, hey, you're paying $1,000 a month for the next 18 years. So that is why Tyrone is so mad, because at least he's smart enough to know what's coming for him, right? And even because he knows, because his baby mamas are probably starting to call him, and they're saying, hey, I can't get these simps to pay my rent. These simps ain't paying my phone bill no more. This your baby, because she knows Tyrone is the daddy. Like, women know who the real father is.
Bro, they're gonna come for you, but the thing is, they can't even catch you. They'd have to get on a plane first.
Tyrone is just sitting at home playing Call of Duty. Next thing you know, he might have a whole SWAT team at his door talking about you owe $300,000 in child support because the kid's already 18 years old. They're gonna charge him interest too on the back child support. And he's gonna be looking at the SWAT team like, well, I guess I'm going to jail because I ain't even got a job. I sell dope and play Call of Duty.
Dude, it's funny you mentioned the part about what he's selling, because the thing is that now that the focus is going to be now that they're going to be focused on him, not only are they going to come after him, they're going to say, okay, oh, and by the way, so yeah, we know you sell that. And I want you to meet the state treasury. I want you to meet the state tax collectors. I want you to meet the IRS, because they need to get a cut of that too. All right. This is what a lot of people don't realize. The IRS, they'll throw you in jail for doing illegal stuff, but they also want a cut of that money.
Exactly. And look, let's be realistic. Not all these Tyrones are alphas. All right. Most of these Tyrones, they're not alphas. They're just regular dudes. Like I said, they're just at home playing Call of Duty. So when life gets real and they're in jail with some real gangsters, some real thugs, you know what I mean? Some real criminals, it's going to be a whole nother story. Tyrone's going to get turned out real quick. I'm telling you right now. He's not as alpha as he thinks he is,
Oh my God.
He's going to be,
go ahead.
He's going to be in that prison system with some real thugs, some real criminals, some lifetime criminals. You know what I mean? Tyrone just sells a little dime sack here and there and gets all these women pregnant and plays Call of Duty.
Dude.
He don't know. He don't know yet. He's about to be introduced to like the real.
Dude, let me put on this video, because the guy you're referencing, the Pookie Areri. Let me put this on, because people were saying that this guy isn't a thug, but listen, he's the guy that you're referencing. Let me put this video on. All right, let me put it on.
Speak Mandarin. Y'all don't speak no other language but English, and you gonna go to another country, and then you go to the United States to rescue you when something happens to you, right? Okay, Brittany Griner.
Before we
get into what this Pookie has to say about the whole passport bro movement, I have to run this whole thing back a little bit so I can give you guys some more context, because the little snippet that you just have seen was cut out of a review that he has done on one of my videos. So let's get right into it. You already know I am a firm believer of a woman competing for her man, especially if she knows that he has a high sexual marketplace value. And because of that fact, when my husband and I, back then boyfriend and girlfriend, were still dating, and he came and visited me in Germany back in 2006, I had to make sure I do everything to leave a good impression compared to the women in America. And I had to do things that I know that women in America are not going to do for him, which really wasn't that hard, because women in America, not all of them, but a lot of them, they just don't want to do jack shit for a man, especially while they are dating. So let's just keep it real. I'm not here just talking out of my behind to make anyone look bad. You can show me right now how many women that you have but dated, who actually were willing to do something for you. And since I like giving advice to women on how to really leave a good impression when it comes to dating a man, I posted this video onto my previous Instagram account. And of course, like many other videos that I posted, it went viral on various platforms. But before we get into the video, I do have to tell you that the title of the video, the caption, was not made by me. It was added by someone who reposted my content. So let's get right into it and let's see what Pookie has to say about my message.
Tired, but I'll tell you one thing.
For you.
Would you agree with what I said? I mean, maybe I am doing too much, but my actions are proving me otherwise. So let's see what kind of gibberish Mr. Pookie Man has to say.
This video must be satire, but I'll tell you one thing. A lot of you American men that's trying to be passport bros that's going to these other countries but do not even speak their language, you're insane. This is beyond just women we talking about. Y'all men don't speak German, y'all don't speak Japanese, y'all don't speak Chinese, y'all don't speak none of these languages, y'all don't speak Mandarin, y'all don't speak no other language but English. And you gonna go to another country? And then you go to the United States to rescue you when something happens to you, right? Okay, Brittany Griner. Doing dumb stuff. And then, not to mention, y'all going to these other countries looking for these wife material women, when low-key you're only dating little girls who's being trafficked and women that are like 304s out there. I will never be a passport bro, because those women in over countries that y'all passporting for is not free women.
Of course, but that's not everything. Let's check out a few comments. First one, they don't even realize they're getting played. They're desperate. Exactly, but book a one-way. I thank them for their service. So once again, passport bros are being judged and shamed for wanting to leave the country and trying to find love outside of the US. Meanwhile, why these women clearly don't want them. I mean, there are numerous of posts, including thousands of comments, that always prove that American women don't want these men who are leaving the country. So what's the problem? Instead of working on their femininity and their attitude, these ladies rather go to sip and paint parties. I didn't know what it was. You don't know either? Let me show you. I was in complete shock.
Give it to me like...
Yep, sip and paint party. So are you trying to tell me that decent American men are supposed to pick a woman out of that pool to wife them? Come on, give me a break. Please give me a break. Pookie probably never left this township, which is probably the reason why he's talking like that. I mean, all the countries that he mentions, Germany, Japan, and China, these are countries where the majority of the population speaks English to begin with. And then he said that these guys expect the American government to come through and rescue them whenever they need help. First of all, sir, and dear American government, with all due respect, you don't even help the Americans who need help, who are still in America. And by the way, when these guys leave America to go chill in another country, there are foreign insurance policies which are paid for, which provide the service of helping the Americans when they are in an emergency. So, sir, really, nobody is begging for anyone to help them in any type of way. So please do not sit here and compare responsible adults to Brittany Griner, who unfortunately had a little bit of marijuana inside of her e-cigarette at a Russian airport. if anybody is strict with anything, it will be the Russians. I mean, come on. I understand the audacity that this young gentleman has, saying that women outside of the country are either 3 or 4s or young women who are being trafficked. First of all, something like that happening to young women is really nothing to make fun out of. I don't even want to imagine what it's like. So I really don't want to talk about that any further. But let's speak about those who he thinks look like 3 and 4s.
So, you know, MK is kind of insane because you can see that these Pookies, these Ray Rays, these Tyrones, they have that single mother energy. They're using the same exact shaming language that these women have used for so long, directed at men. You know, they're furious about it because they're using that. And notice that the comments, you have these same exact women that are jumping in onto the videos and commenting on his video like, "You're absolutely right. These men are so pathetic." You know, he's making the same exact comments and spreading the same exact lies that these women have been spreading against black men walking out of these countries, walking out of the West, leaving Tyrone and Keisha behind to go do better for themselves overseas.
Exactly. I've said that before in my videos too. Any man who uses a shaming tactic, especially the same shaming tactics that women use, that man is a woman in his brain, because he's talking like a woman. I mean, clearly he has some feminine female traits, right? He's in touch with his. This is what I'm saying. These guys are going to get turned out. He's already acting like a woman.
And that's, to be clear, that's not feminine, because femininity is a beautiful thing, just like masculinity is a beautiful thing. That's female behavior right there. That's toxic female behavior. That's single mother energy right there.
Yeah, definitely. He gets it from the single mother. I think one of the comments said you can tell this guy was raised by a single mother, and just the whole thing, like the hoodie, and like he's trying to make himself look like a tough guy, you know, with the hoodie inside his house, like. Who's wearing a hoodie inside, like with the hood up, you know? All of this stuff is just going to show that these guys are not as hard as they're trying to portray themselves to be. And like I said, he used the same shaming tactics that women use. I'm going to reiterate, all of the passport kings over here, especially the black men, are educated. They're starting businesses. They have money. They have more money than you do, probably. They have more money than I do, probably. They educate themselves. They do their research before they get here. They learn some of the language. I mean, these guys are, not only are they winning with relationships, like the woman is completely secondary to everything else they're doing here and being successful at here in the Philippines or whatever country they're going to. So the men that are leaving are in fact the men that these women want, right? These are the 6 figures, the 6 feet tall, and you know, they might be a little nerdy, they might be a little dorky, they might like to watch anime and things like that, but these guys are getting things done. They're being successful here. They are winning here, not just with women, but in every aspect of life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, there was another topic that you actually did bring up, and I want you to talk about that. You mentioned that Tyrone is causing an outbreak of incest in the black community.
Yeah, that's something. Let me just address her one more thing before we get to that, because that last comment she said about the U.S. government helping. I just wanted, because I talk about this on my channel. The U.S. government does not help any foreigner here in the Philippines. All right, so there are homeless foreigners from all over the world, Australia, U.S. For whatever reason, they became homeless here. U.S. government does not care about them. They cannot come up with a you know, it costs about $600 for a one-way ticket, you know, back to the United States. So the U.S. government can pay a single mother $1,200 in food stamps every month, but they can't spend $600 to get one of their own citizens back into the country, you know, on a one-way ticket. That's all I want to say about that. The U.S. government, once you come to the Philippines or another country, once you're retired, they don't care about you. Or you're no longer an asset to the economy or the society. If you become homeless in another country, the government does not care about you. They will leave you there to die. So that was just my statement on what she was talking about. The government, basically, you know, the government's not helping no one. The government does not help men here. at all, because we do have some homeless foreigners here.
And I think that's something, I think that's an amazing point that everyone needs to understand. The government doesn't care about you, and women think that the government cares about them a lot more than than it actually does. It's really just using them to get what they want. Let's jump into that. So let's jump into that topic now that you mentioned that Tyrone is causing incest in the Black community, because this is the first time I'm actually hearing about this, but it makes perfect sense, because we already know that when it comes to the redneck culture, that's a lot of that, there's a lot of that happening over there. So it makes perfect sense that it would be very prominent in the Black community, especially with these people who are the ones creating most of the problems and disparities. So please go ahead and jump into that and educate us.
Well, yeah, like I said, it doesn't get talked about that much because obviously it's not something people want to talk about. It's a very uncomfortable subject, but especially for the Black community, what I have heard Black content creators address it. Sometimes, very rarely, they address it. So what most people don't realize is that you have these little communities, these Section 8 communities, these poor, Black communities in the United States, and then you have Pookie and Ray Ray going in there, and we already know that 100% of the women are only going after the top 2% of men, right? So it's the same thing with the Pookies and Ray Rays in the Black community. All these women are sleeping with the same man or the same 2 or 3 men. They're getting pregnant by him. They're having kids with him. Those kids are then growing up older. They're becoming adults. They don't even know they're related to each other. And then because they still live in the same community, they're going to the same schools, just like, everyone else. You go to high school, you get a little boyfriend, you get a little girlfriend, and they don't even know they might be brother and sister because their mother was, their mothers were sleeping with the same Pookie and Ray Ray. So this is another epidemic within the Black community that does not get addressed because obviously it's a very uncomfortable topic to talk about. However, it is happening, and it's happening a lot, and people don't know. These kids really don't know that they're related.
I mean, what do you think the long-term consequences of incest in the Black community are?
I mean, well, we have to look at just the consequences of incest in general. I mean, does it cause does it add to the mental health issues that they already have? Or, let me just look it up because to get the facts straight.
Yeah, go ahead and look that up. Let me see here. While you're looking that up, so let's look at this comment while you're doing your research. The Foreign Pretty says, if he's so hard, why is he scared to leave the country, though? Massa take good care of your
Exactly. No, I mean, exactly, because it does, leaving. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were talking about they wanted to travel, and they were just scared of just the idea of traveling. Is honestly, it's kind of a big deal to leave your country and basically just be immersed in another culture where you don't know anything, or like you don't know how things really operate, right? Like with me, even here in the Philippines, it took a few months for me to kind of figure out how things work here. All right, it's not the same as the U.S. Like I was just talking about yesterday, like banking. If I have to go to the bank, I already know I'm going to be spending at least 2 or 3 hours at the bank waiting, because the banking system here is not like that it's not the way it is in America. They're not as trusting here, so they're doing checks, they're doing double checks, they're making sure that you have the money you say you have before they give it out to you, So it takes a while, just things like that. I mean, it takes a few months for you to learn how the country really works. So yeah, it does take I would say these passport bros who are leaving, especially if they've never left the country before, it takes a significant amount of courage to just, uproot, to change your life that drastically.
I see this
That's why
Go ahead.
that's why they're doing the research. They're making sure these passport kings are smart. They're doing the research. They're preparing. They're putting themselves in the best possible position they can by doing the research before they get here, and they're being very smart about it. They're being very calculated about it. You know, so that's why I'm saying these men that are coming here, these are the smart men. These are not the Pookies and the Ray Rays.
Now, and one of the things that I talked about, and this is going to be extremely this is going to be extremely controversial. There was a comment that I got from. There was a comment. I pointed out that every time these guys are, calling these guys Pookie, Ray Ray, Tyrone, because that's who they are. These are the names in these communities. But really, what it is that it's becoming a form of a slur. And I said that a lot of these guys are going to, you're gonna have situations where they're gonna be women who are going to be on social media that are married to these passport kings, and they're going to be saying a lot of horrible and disrespectful things directed at these women and these men that have targeted them, and they're not going to correct them. And if we look at this comment from Mayumi, she said something very interesting. Mayumi is a physician. Her husband owns a large security firm, and he is an African-American man. However, she says that my husband uses the N-word to describe, and that's when I say the N-word, I'm not talking about the one that ends with A, I'm talking about the one that ends with the hard ER. It's my husband uses the N-word to describe some of the ignorant and hateful among his skin tone. I found it weird when I met him, but his father's Zulu heritage, so these people are from Africa, who came for Christmas, was also using the word. The word used against them was the K word. I will tell my husband to email you that word. Dutch Africans called most South African blacks that word. So, what's honestly, and that goes back to the email that I showed you earlier from that Tyrone that was so angry and demanding that I edit out the word because it's offensive, and I'm really what they know is that these men are basically calling them like, that's what you are. They want these men to hurt. They want these Tyrones. They want the Ray Ray. They want the Pookies to hurt. And the educated black men, they're now separating themselves from these people. A lot of these men, they don't even want to be called African American anymore. If you want to call them Black American, go ahead and call them Black American. But really, they just want to be called American. They don't want to have anything to do with the black community anymore. They don't want to have anything to do with Keisha. They don't want to have anything to do with Tyrone. They don't care about these people. They don't care what happens with these people. They don't care if the police pick up Tyrone on a bad day. Some cop is having a bad day. He picks up a Tyrone because Tyrone is acting a fool, and this cop just gets angry and lets all of his anger out on him, and he puts his back into it, and now Tyrone is laid up in the hospital crying about how this officer didn't have to do him like that when he was stealing from Trader Joe's. The officer could have just looked the other way, and it wasn't that serious. And there's not going to be any support for these men. They're going to be right out there crying their eyes out because they're not even that hard. It's like you said, the dude in that video that Soraya featured, this dude is not that hard. He's obviously out there in the streets, but he's not that hard. And you pointed out that he'll get turned out in prison very quickly.
No, I'm from Houston, Texas, and we have, and I know you're from New York, so I'm just going to do a comparison. We have some thugs in Houston, right, who think they're thugs, right? And I tell these guys, I'm like, look, have you ever been to New York? Like, being a thug in Houston is not the same as being a thug in New York, right? 50 Cent's from New York, right? He got shot. Like, have you been shot? Like, no. So these thugs in Houston think they're real thugs, and I'm like, no, you haven't been around real thugs. Like, you have no idea. So one day, if you keep acting the way you're acting, a real thug is going to put you in check, and you're going to be holding his pocket.
Dude, so, I love the way you say this. Like, a lot of these little thugs running around from these little places, they think that they're big and they're bad. I grew up in New York. Those were when I grew up in New York back in the 80s and the 90s, man. I have never seen so many homeless people. That was a traumatizing experience. The things I witnessed in New York. I mean, I went through real hell growing up in New York. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you this right now. These little thugs that are running around, they can come to New York, go to Brooklyn, and
Go to Detroit, go to Chicago. I mean, you're gonna recognize real quick that you don't want to be a thug no more. Like you
dude,
thought you did, and you're gonna be like, no, I'm going to church. I need Jesus now.
let me tell you
So
something, dude. Let me tell you, it's not a race thing. They come to these places, and the average white guy that owns a pizzeria, they bring that energy to them. They'll get fixed up on the street, and he'll go to work after go to work after he fixes them up. Like New York is a
exactly,
whole different kind of energy. Like it's a very, very different kind of energy in New York. Like it's a whole different breed of people. It's a whole different breed of people,
I
whole
mean,
different breed of white people in New York.
other than you for a New Yorker, as far as New Yorkers that I've met, you're actually like a little bit more chilled out. Most of the New Yorkers I've met, even if they're not like they're cool people, but just their normal personality is very aggressive. But that's just them being normal. Like to me, it feels like I'm like this guy's being really aggressive, but that's just how they are normally. Because I have this one friend here in the Philippines, and he talks to everybody real aggressively, like he'll get in your face, and it looks like he's being aggressive, but that's just his normal personality. That's just his New Yorker personality. So that's just New Yorkers being normal. Imagine a New Yorker being like a real thug from New York. If New Yorkers are aggressive just normally, like no, like the real thugs, and like you said, it's not a race thing. It's when you live in a community where you have to protect yourself on a daily basis. It doesn't matter what race you are. You got a gun behind the counter, right? You know what I mean? If you have a business.
Dude, there's
So
a video of this guy. There's a video of this guy creating problems in the subway, like he tried to rob someone in the subway, and a white guy just fixed him up real quick. And then they go, instead of arresting the thug, they go and arrest the white guy. Like New York is a very different place. You don't know who you're messing with in New York. These little thugs, these
exactly.
little kids running around, they don't know. They think, they think that life is easy. They don't know. They go into prison and they become someone's girlfriend.
And that's the thing. These thugs make themselves look like thugs. These guys, these real alpha males, they look like regular guys. So you don't know who you're really messing with. That guy could be ex-military for all you know, and he's just wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt. He's got his pants pulled up. He's not making himself look like a thug, but he has military trained skills to defend himself. And these thugs have absolutely no skills. They might have a gun. A lot of these thugs, they have guns. They don't even have bullets. You know what I mean? They're robbing people with guns with no bullets. You know, so
Bro, have you noticed the ones like even like the dudes who have like let's say firearms. Hopefully YouTube doesn't
okay,
mess up.
firearm.
Firearms and ammunition. You look at these guys that do even have, they go and they have these fights with one another in a community, and they start firing off rounds, and in the end they can't even hit one another. They can't even hit.
Exactly.
They can't even fight for crap. They do. They do $100,000-$200,000 in property damage. They hit the mailman. They hit they hit the dog. They hit the grandma, the grandchildren. They destroy the car. They start a fire at a gas station, and somehow they're standing right in front of each other, and they both walk out of it alive and well and healthy. And they
Exactly.
feel like they achieved something. Like they really like they sent a message. Bro, you just destroyed your community.
You can tell by the way from the videos, by the way they just by the way they handle their firearm, the way they're moving. That recent video with that guy where they tried to rob him at his house, right? That guy, he had like a cup of coffee in his hand and he had just got home. That guy, you could tell the difference between the way he handled himself and the way he was holding his weapon, that he had training, and the other thugs had absolutely no training. What they were just running, shooting wildly, right? The guy that was defending himself, you could tell the way he was moving, the way he was holding his weapon, he was trained, so there you can see the difference in these videos between the guys who have training and these thugs who just, they have no training whatsoever. So, and that's another thing about these real thugs in prison too, is a lot of these real thugs in prison actually are smart enough to get training. So
I want to ask
and
you about some. Go ahead.
yeah, never mind what I was going to say. What were you going to say?
I want to ask you something. I do want to ask you this because this was something I wanted to talk about in a video. And one of the guys, Tyrone, Ray, Pookie, and Terry Crews, he commented this, and I wanted to talk about this just very briefly. He said, "What do you think about the immigration problem in New York, Angry?" And I find that very interesting because what we're actually seeing in New York is an example of accidental socialism. Just like how Venezuela ended up with accidental socialism, we're seeing a bit of accidental socialism. Now, keep in mind, this is nowhere near as extreme as Venezuela. But what's happening in New York, because I'm from New York, so I follow New York's news, and I find it intriguing. What's happening in New York right now is that, and I don't know if you've been following it at all, but there's the mayor from the governor of Texas has been busing tons and tons of immigrants to New York because to the different sanctuary cities, but especially New York. And they actually, these guys have literally overwhelmed. They're outright overwhelming the city's resources. And it's so intriguing because, for example, the social services system, people who have paid taxes actually, that are born in New York, born in the United States, or that immigrated to the United States and they are permanent residents. These people that rely on the social services system for things like cash benefits, specifically food stamps, they have not been able to get their food stamps for months because the people that have come to New York, that are being bused into New York, have overwhelmed that system. New York right now is literally out of money. And Eric Adams, that's the current mayor of New York, who was a former police officer, has basically said that they're on their own. He's crying all over the place. He went to Washington, D.C., I believe a couple of weeks ago, trying to meet
asking
with Biden.
For more money.
You heard about it. And what happened? They said Biden, he basically said that you're on your own. They're not giving him anything. In fact, but he said that he hadn't spoken to Biden in like a year or over a year. And right now in New York, they're cutting all the programs in New York. So, for example, police officers, they're not hiring any more police officers. They don't have the funds to do that. And over 2,500 police officers actually quit in New York already. We are now going to return in New York. They are going to return to the lowest level of police available on the streets since the 1990s. So we're going to have the lowest levels of police officers in New York since the 1990s. And those were terrible, terrible days. And we are seeing literal increases in crime and so forth. And of course, the media is trying to downplay it, but it is a very, very grave situation there. And not only are they making those cuts, but they're cutting summer school programs. They're cutting back on tons of different programs. They're shutting down schools. Because they do not have the money for this. And these kids can barely read and write. Many of them cannot read and write. If you thought Gen Z was bad, Gen Alpha, the generation that comes after Gen Z, these guys are 13 years old right now. They're going to be 14. They're going on 14. Many of them are going to be entering high school in a year or two. And
they cannot read or write. That's true.
You can see the stupid. You can see the literal stupid on the faces of a lot of these children. And I hate to say it like that, but it's the honest truth. You can see the absolute stupid on their faces. You can see the ignorance on their faces. And New York is an example of what happens when when socialism begins to take off. Because what they're doing is they're putting these people in hotels. And they've overwhelmed, and they're putting these people in hotels. They're giving these people food stamps. They're giving these people cash assistance and cash benefits. They're free health care. And where's all of this money supposed to come from? That money has basically been sucked out of the city's budget. So now the city does not have money to pay its police officers. So no police officers, no policing on the streets. So you do not have safe streets anymore. Food stamps. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I had talked about it before in another live stream, how not only can they not afford to hire more police, even if they wanted to, nobody wants to be a cop anymore because of everything that's going on with the cops, who try to basically do their jobs, and then they're the ones who end up in prison for doing their job. So no one's going to be a cop anymore. There's no incentive. Who's gonna sign up to make 50,000, 60,000 a year just so you could potentially end up in jail for just doing your job, for trying to defend yourself or defend a citizen, a civilian, you know, but because for whatever reason, you know, you fired your firearm and somebody's feelings got hurt. Now you're the one who has to defend yourself. Even cops, not only is it the civilians trying to protect themselves, even the cops, whenever you fire your firearm, you are guilty until proven innocent. You have to defend yourself. That is crazy. And that is why people, it doesn't matter if they have the money to pay the cops. No one's going to apply for the job anymore anyways. Secondly, not only is the city broke, but the charities are broke too, because I was watching a video for Thanksgiving. They were talking about how like all the immigrants, there was like a charity that, you know, they gave out Thanksgiving dinner and everything. They said all the immigrants basically camped out all night long. They took all the food, and by the time the regular New York citizens came, the New York homeless people came, there was no food left for them on Thanksgiving. So the state is out of money. The charities are out of money. Anybody who's trying to help anybody, they don't have any more money to help. So there's nowhere to go for help anywhere.
And the crazy thing is this, you know, here's something very crazy. So Tyrone points this out. He said New York only has 100,000 out of the 2 million migrants that Texans have had to deal with. And Eric Adams is complaining. Now, this really shows how things truly are, because they act like there's an unlimited amount of funds to take care of these people. But in reality, there's not an unlimited amount of funds. There's not unlimited amounts of labor. We're facing a massive labor shortage as men are dropping out of Western society, out of the workforce, refusing to do, especially these blue-collar jobs, construction, repair, a lot. And even not just that, even in robotics, men are dropping out at the highest levels and the lowest levels. Very soon, you'll have men who say, yeah, I won't even get out. I won't even clean the streets. I don't have to do sanitation. I won't wake up and go and, you know, clean the streets and pick up the trash. I can sit home and I can do some day trading and make my money that way. And I can survive. And you made a great point that a lot of the police officers, they've been moving to Florida. The governor of Florida has been stealing these officers for over a year now.
That's what I was going to say too. There was a legitimate news article that came out that I watched that all these other states are going to New York because they're trying to up their police force, and they're saying, "Hey, we're going to pay you more. Just come over here." They're paying these New York police officers to relocate to be police in their states. So New York is really screwing themselves over in regards to the police force.
The crazy thing is that, you know, this is not even true socialism. This is just a tiny little fragment of what they can't even handle 100,000 people, giving them some food stamps and shelter, and they want to, you know, and then you've got Erica, what's his name, Andrew Yang, the ghost of Andrew Yang won't stop haunting Western society, that's pushing for a UBI. And I truly believe that based on what's happening with women and what modern Western society as men are walking away, they're going to force it. Some type of UBI is coming, some type of, you know, large social welfare program is coming, but it's not going to be more than a couple $100 a month. Checks for $400, $800. It's not, I don't even think it'll reach $800. But even if it does, it won't be enough to live off. It will not be enough to survive on. And the crazy thing is, you're going to have these women trying to live on it, trying to survive on it. And the thing is, for a man doesn't need a lot to survive. The average guy, you give him $12,000 a year of untaxed money, or let's say $800 a month, so $9,600 a year. The average dude who already has some savings, he'll just take that money, fly out of the country, move to the Philippines, you know, set up an apartment, everything he needs there, pay $120, $150 a month. $150 a month to rent out a house or an apartment. That works out to only $1,800 a year. He still has a ton of money left over, house fully furnished, flat screen, flat panel television, you know, PlayStation 5, everything he needs, already has his gaming laptop. He has, you know, insurance, traveler's insurance on everything, and he's living fine. Or if he stays in Western society, because not all, you know, all passport bros are men walking away, but not all men walking away are passport bros. For those men walking away that don't leave the United States, they'll rent a camper or get a van, put it on a piece of land, live there in the camper, paying no rent, no rent, nothing, live very, very cheap, very, very
Yep.
cheap, shower at the gym, and they are happy, extremely happy. And they're living for the man, a man, he's living a high quality life. Because for men, less is more. Men live, for men don't like clutter, men don't like all that other stuff. Women are the ones who like to pile junk around them and pile up all this stuff and acquire all the stuff that they don't need. Men like simplicity. That's why you'll see a guy, some pictures online of a guy in a sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor with video games in front of him, and like bottle of water, and women are like, how can men live this way? He's having the time of his life. He's living out of a backpack. He doesn't have to do any cleaning. He has everything he needs, and all of his money is going in the bank. He's living a calm, relaxed life. He's sleeping, he's eating, he's enjoying the things he enjoys, and he doesn't have the burden of a woman or a family to go along with it. And hey, if he ever wants to, have intimacy, he'll fly over to TJ. He'll fly over to Mexico, go over to Hong Kong. You've probably heard of Hong Kong. Have you heard of Hong Kong?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Most guys have heard of, know about the red light district in Tijuana. They'll fly over to TJ. They'll go over to Hong Kong or any other place. There's an alley over there. You can spend $30 to get anything you like. And they'll fly over there on a weekend, have some fun, then come back and continue living. A lot of dudes are living out of a backpack right now. And it's like they don't even comprehend it. And another important thing about, that's about this case of accidental socialism. And it's not even true socialism. It's just like, it's basically like, just a peak of things to come. UBI would only add to inflation, and no way would it be enough to live on. So yeah, if you think the inflation that's occurring right now is bad, it would only get worse.
Yeah, I think you're right. The UBI is going to be like, they're going to give you like $200-300 a month just to kind of help you, with your bills, but because they still need you to work, right? They still need you to pay taxes and things like that. So the UBI is only going to be a couple $100 a month just to help you a little bit with all the single mothers crying. And this guy talking about I think the EBT system will crash. It did last summer for one day. That is true. It did crash for one day.
I wasn't aware of that.
I remember, in Texas, like for one day, all the single mothers were crying that they didn't get their checks. So it was it actually made the news. I think they were like, there was like some woman talking about, how am I supposed to feed my babies? And it was like literally one day, and then they got their check the next day. But
the thing is,
EBT,
go ahead.
The EBT system ultimately will crash, just the way the Social Security system will.
Yes.
It's just a matter of time. And also, China has already told the U.S. that they need to get rid of their EBT system if they want to start paying back their debt. If they want to start paying down their debt, China said you have to get, if they were to get rid of the EBT system, they could pay off the debt. This is what China told the U.S. Because China wants their money.
It's so crazy because I had been doing a little bit of math. I've been looking at the cost of homelessness, or rather the economics of homelessness, and I realized pretty quickly that a lot of these people who are they're doing the whole homelessness thing. These people are really robbing the system. They are absolutely scamming the system. 100% scamming the system, because the amount of money that these people are getting, that they are making from the system, is absolutely ridiculous. When you start to look at the benefits, that these people receive from living off welfare programs, social welfare programs, it's massive. I want to just go over the list I made very quickly, and of course, I made it quickly, so it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to look at something very quickly. For example, these people living on the streets, they get free food being brought to them every single day. If you were to quantify that and break that down, like compare that to like the cost of Uber Eats and having food prepared for you, even just sandwiches, but these meals, because these people are eating, they're out there and they eat a lot of food.
I'm going to step away for like 1 minute while you do that.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. I mean, guys, it's absolutely It's absolutely insane what's happening in Western society right now. But you know, look at the list, guys. Look at this list that I put together. That when we break things down, you know, they receive, let's say, about at least $50 a day. That's conservative, and just free food, living on the streets. That equals 18. So $50 a day. That works out to $1,500 a month. That's equivalent to $18,000 a year. $18,000 a year, guys. Okay, and free food that they're getting just by living on the streets are depending on the social services system, so food pantries and so forth. Okay, but it doesn't just end there. Then there's the food stamps. They get around $280 a month just for one person, and if they have a family, they're collecting $1,200. In single mothers are getting like $1,200 $1,200 a month in food stamps for a single mother. For a single mother, that's that's absolutely ridiculous. The food budget for these people is going to be so crazy. That works out to $14,400. So they're getting almost, single mothers are getting, you know, with just a handful of kids are getting roughly like almost $15,000 a month in food. But just the average person living off the welfare system, that's, you know, at $280 a month, that works out to $3,360. So these people living off the system are actually receiving around $21,300 at a conservative estimate. This is like the bare minimum. This is a conservative estimate. They're receiving around $21,360 a month in food related benefits, a year in food related benefits. This is madness. Health insurance, the average health insurance for the average person is about $477 a month. If you have an employer, if you're working for a company, they subsidize your health insurance, and then the cost for the employee is around like $117. But the actual cost is about $477 a month. That's how much it actually costs to insure a person. So these people who are living off the system, they're getting free health insurance, and that in health insurance works out to $5,724 per a year. All right, and I mean, if we keep on going, you know, we add, you know, cell phone. There's a thing called the ACP program, which basically gives them a credit so that they'll pay $30 a month for their cell phone. Guys, they can go and get Metro PCS or choose from a bunch of other different companies, and they basically they'll basically pay nothing for their cell phone. They'll pay $0 for their cell phone. So that works out to $360 a year. Okay, so their cell phone bill is being covered. Clothing and toiletries, take this into consideration. There are people always going around handing out clothing, toiletries, blankets. And I actually estimated this at $50 a month. It's way more than $50 a month. Let me make it very clear. It's way more. It's more like $100, $200. It could be hundreds of dollars. But at just $50 a month, that works out to $600 a year in benefits that they're receiving from clothing, toiletries, blankets, etc., living off the government and charities and people that go around giving them these things. They also get access to things like free health cares, free haircuts. All right. So just like, let's say two haircuts a month, and many of them get more than, you know, they're constantly stunting. So let's say they get, you know, let's say that works out to $25 per haircut, because based on this in the inflation today, and some haircuts are more than that. But let's say two haircuts. One haircut is about $25. So let's say they get 2 of them a month. That works out to $50. That's another $600 a year that they're sucking from the economy, that they're sucking from people. Then let's keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of these people, they don't sleep on the streets. They sleep in shelters. A lot of them have access to shelters, but they choose to sleep. They choose to continue being perpetually homeless, because you hear that someone's homeless, but what you don't realize is that doesn't mean they're sleeping on the streets. A lot of them sleep in shelters. They have access to a lot of different resources, and you know.
So they have an option. The reason they don't sleep in the shelters is because the shelters don't allow them to do drugs in the shelters. That's the main reason.
Absolutely. But when you consider the fact that they do have access to affordable housing, to to housing and so forth. If you want to rent a hotel room in New York right now, we're talking about like $200 a night. Real is $150, $200 a night, and it's not just in New York, California, $80-something a night, and that's like a Goldilocks deal at Motel 6. For an actual hotel, oh no, it's way more than that. A couple $100 in many cases for a single night, and not even at a nice place. So
yeah,
if we do the math and we were to equate that to, let's say, $50 a day. Let me see here. Where's my numbers? Let's say that worked out to like $50 a day. $1,500 a month, and that's really cheap compared to what people are paying in rent today. That they're receiving in housing accommodations. That's another $18,000. That's another $18,000. And then here's another thing. A lot of people don't realize that these people are getting free transportation. They're getting 100% free transportation. They get access to if they have Medicaid, they get access to services that will take them back and forth to doctor's appointments. Not only that, they get free access to the transit system, so they can ride on the buses for free or at a discounted rate. How much does that work out to? So for example, there are programs like their services, free car services, access services, and access to ride in California, in New York, and different places. In New York, I just Googled this and I pulled up this information. With New York, for example, you can get 60 rides a month, up to $25 a piece in value, which works out to $1,500 in free rides per month, or $18,000 a year in free rides per year, and you can actually qualify to add for the service using Lyft. And these people are literally robbing the system blind. And these are just the basic economics of how the welfare state works. So when you see these people out there in the streets and you think that they're suffering, listen to me. If you are homeless for 5 years, if you are homeless for 10 years, it's a choice. All right. The average citizen does not have the luxury of being able to go and live this way and live freely. These people are living off the system, living off the state, benefiting from all of these things, and then sitting around doing their illicit substances and chilling on their phones while everyone else is working to provide and care for them and protect them. And they want sympathy. And this is just a fraction of that, because a lot of these guys are also panhandling and earning money on the side too. They may act like they don't have a job, but a lot of them make money throughout the year. They panhandle, they sell stuff, they boost. So that's another, that for a lot of and for a lot of them, that's even more money. That's $10,000-$20,000. You don't even know. And then when it comes
depending on the area they're in, there's like some YouTube videos you can watch where they actually talk about how much money they make per day. Depending on the area, they make about $50 a day panhandling, tax free.
Jesus. And they're doing on a regular basis. So if you average that out on a month, that's $18,000 a year. Guys, right? Just everything I've shown you so far works out to about $47,000. But if you estimate in, the fact that them panhandling and other stuff, and you add that in there, so 47,000 plus that 18,000 that MK just mentioned, that works out to $65,000. And of course, that's not even the peak of it, because there's all these other things that they're benefiting from as well.
Yeah. Then we have to factor in single mothers. So the child support, the alimony, the income tax return checks. By the way, a lot of people don't realize that, especially people who don't have children, these women are getting more money back in their income tax than they made all year. By the way, if you have 2 or 3 kids, you're getting like $12,000 in income tax return, and they probably only made $12,000 working at Walmart. So they pay no taxes whatsoever because they get it all back.
You're right.
We're not, and then the college loans. By the way, the college loans. So a lot of it is grants. They don't have to pay it back. I know they're talking about all this college loan debt, but they also got a lot of money in grants that they don't even have to pay back, not to mention free money, because a lot of these grants will give you free money for housing as well, for books. So they'll just give you money because they know you need books, supplies, food, whatever your living costs, so that you can still get extra grant money just for living costs when you're going to college. So much free money, just a ridiculous amount of free money.
that the system is so broken, but you can see what the consequences are when you look at New York and you realize that that the money is not unlimited. It does not grow on trees. And, the roosters are coming home to crow. So, guys, just to reiterate, if you're enjoying the content, help us get to 100,000 subscribers by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't. Turn on notifications, never miss another video again, and like the video. Guys, I want to thank MK Fitness for joining us again, co-host MK Fitness. MK, I'll give you the final word before we close out.
The final word is get out while you still can. Get out before the travel bans. We know the election is coming next year, November 4th. Guys, be prepared for whatever the powers that be are going to try and do before the election. We always know from history that they plan some kind of a coup before an election. So I would highly recommend, if you're thinking about leaving the country, do it now. Do it before next year. Do it before the summer hits, because I'm pretty sure this summer, I'm watching the news, guys. Mask mandates are starting to come back. They're gearing up for another episode of, part 2 of everything. So get out while you still can. Get out before the travel bans. That's my final word. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys.
Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And you ready for it, bro?
Cheers.
Cheers. There you go.